Okay, today we're going to be reading the book Yoko, and this is another one by Rosemary Wells. Now, one way we can enjoy stories is to retell them over and over again. We started that work with Timothy Goes to School. We thought about the characters, the setting, the events, and then we retold the story remembering the details from the pictures and the words. Another way you can enjoy a story is by thinking about what the author wants you to remember. Rosemary Wells, like a lot of authors, wants you to learn something from her story. So we can keep asking ourselves as we listen to the story today, what was the lesson that Rosemary Wells wants us to learn? Okay, so as we read today, I want you to be thinking about that question. What lesson does Rosemary Wells want us to learn? So as I said, today we're going to be reading Yoko, and this little girl on the front cover is Yoko. Let's go ahead and turn to your learning coach for just a minute and use the illustration on the cover to describe Yoko. Go ahead and turn the video back on when you guys are finished. So we have Yoko by Rosemary Wells. "What would you like for lunch today, my little cherry blossom?" asked Yoko's mother. "All my favorite things, please," answered Yoko. Yoko's mother spread steamed rice onto a bamboo mat. She rolled out the secret treasure inside each piece. Then she placed it in a willow-covered cooler. "Have a wonderful day at school, my little cherry blossom," said Yoko's mother. "I will," answered Yoko. Okay, I'm going to stop here for just a second because I want to review what has happened so far. I want to make sure when I do this that I name the who and the what. So the who is Yoko and her mom, and the what is made Yoko's favorite lunch, and then Yoko went off to school. Okay, so the who is our characters and the what is our events. Yoko said hello to all her friends. Everyone in Miss Jenkins' class sang the good morning song. Okay, so now I want you to try this with your learning coach. Tell your learning coach who the who and the what are on this page. At noon, Miss Jenkins rang the lunch bell. "Lunch box is out and open, please, boys and girls," said Mrs. Jenkins. Timothy unwrapped a peanut butter and honey sandwich. Valerie had cream cheese and jelly. Fritz had a meatball grinder. Tulip had Swiss cheese on rye. Hazel had egg salad on pumpernickel. Doris had squeezed cheese on white. And the Franks had franks and beans. I'm glad Rosemary Wells put in an illustration like these. We saw these in Timothy as well. Timothy Goes to School, where she spreads them out into different illustrations instead of one big illustration. Splitting them up like this really helps me picture, especially in this book, how each of these lunches looked as the children were eating them. Yoko opened the willow-covered cooler. Inside was her favorite sushi. Tucked in the rice rolls were the crispiest cucumbers, the pinkest shrimp, the greenest seaweed, and the tastiest tuna. "What's in your lunch?" asked one of the Franks. "Ugh, it's green. It's seaweed." "Oh no," said the other Frank. "Don't tell me that's raw fish." "Watch out, it's moving," said Doris. "Yuckarama," said Tulip and Fritz. Valerie blew the playtime whistle. "Everyone out," said Valerie. What just happened here? Let's take a closer look at Yoko's face. I'm going to turn back to page 8 where she first takes out her lunch. Take a look at her face here. And then after everyone is making comments about her lunch, take a look at her face here. Why did her face change? Turn to your learning coach and talk about why did Yoko's face change? Yoko did not want to play ball or swing on the swings. "What's wrong, Yoko?" asked Mrs. Jennings. "Everybody laughed at my lunch," answered Yoko. They'll all forget about it by snack time," said Mrs. Jenkins. But they didn't. During the snack time song, Yoko opened her thermos cup full of red bean ice cream. "Red bean ice cream is for weirdos," snorted the Franks. Mrs. Jenkins switched to the friendly song. So let's figure out up to this point, what is one of the most important events that has happened so far? So let's see, some events that have occurred was Yoko was excited to go to school. Her mother makes her favorite lunch. During lunch, all Yoko's classmates make fun of her lunch. So tell your learning coach, what do you think is the most important event that's happened so far? And why do you think that's the most important event? Mrs. Jennings knew the friendly song was not enough. Late in the evening, she fretted about Yoko. Finally, the answer came to her. And this word, fretted, means to worry. So Mrs. Jenkins was worrying about Yoko. "Dear parents, Monday will be International Food Day at Hilltop School. Everyone is asked to bring in a dish from a foreign country. Everyone must try a bite of everything. Happy cooking, Mrs. Jenkins." So first I'm wondering, why would Mrs. Jenkins be worried about Yoko? Discuss with your learning coach. Why do you think she's worried or fretting about Yoko? You may want to start your conversation like, "I think Mrs. Jenkins is worried about Yoko because," give your reason why, and then say, "I think this because," okay? Then after you guys talk about that, I want you to ask yourself, how will International Food Day help Yoko? "Well, we will make a deluxe sushi for the whole class," said Yoko's mother. "Don't worry, my little cherry blossom. Everyone will try our sushi, and everyone will love it." On Monday morning, Valerie and her mother carried in a plate of enchiladas. Timothy and his mother made Caribbean coconut crisps. Hazel brought Nigerian nut soup. Harry brought Brazil nuts. Doris brought Irish stew. Tulip brought potato knishes. Monica brought a pitcher of mango smoothies. Fritz brought spaghetti. Big Frank cooked up a pot of Boston franks and beans. At noon, Mrs. Jenkins rang the lunch bell, and everyone sang the Clean Hand song. "What does International Food Day mean to us, boys and girls?" asked Mrs. Jenkins. Try everything, said everybody. When Valerie blew the playtime whistle, there was not a nibble of nuts or a sip of smoothie left. But no one had touched even one piece of Yoko's sushi. Yoko sat under the learning tree. Suddenly, she heard the clickety-click of chopsticks. It was Timothy. He was still hungry. Let me show you how, said Yoko. Timothy polished off the rest of the crab cones his own way. Can we have sushi again tomorrow? He asked. I'll ask my mother, answered Yoko. During the school bus song, Timothy found a coconut crisp in his pocket. He gave it to Yoko. It's even better than red bean ice cream, said Yoko. On the bus, Timothy and Yoko made plans to push their desks together and open a restaurant the very next day. And they did. They ordered tomato sandwiches and dragon rolls. For dessert, they had brownies with green tea ice cream, and they couldn't have asked for anything more. And that is the end of Yoko. So let's think back for a minute about what happened when Yoko brought her sushi to International Food Day. Turn and face your learning coach and picture Yoko and the way her face looked when no one ate her sushi. Show your learning coach what her face looked like. Now, picture Timothy eating all the crab cones. Then, picture Yoko's face. Show your learning coach what Yoko's face looked like then. So next, picture Timothy giving Yoko a coconut crisp. Picture Timothy's face. Show your... And finally, picture Timothy and Yoko pushing their desks together and eating lunch. Picture their faces. So how did International Food Day help Yoko solve her problem? Did Mrs. Jenkins' idea work? Talk with your learning coach about that for a minute. So when we started reading this book, we decided that we were going to keep asking ourselves the question, what did Rosemary Wells want us to learn from reading this book? So to help us figure that out, we're going to think of what did Yoko learn about herself? And what did Timothy learn? So kind of think about those ideas. And in your reading journal, I want you to make a T-chart. Title one of the columns, Yoko's lesson. Title the other column, Timothy's lesson. And I want you to record on your chart what Yoko learned about herself and what Timothy learned. Okay? And you will turn in that T-chart today.